Welcome back, folks, to another review for The Mandalorian with your boy Terrell and Najee here. Episode 4, The Foundling. We're back. We promised we was going to be back, and what a great episode that we have for you. Yeah, Najee, welcome back.
What's up,
Episode
Terrell? How
4.
you feeling?
Pretty good, man. It's always an exciting day to talk about Star Wars, especially when it's the great medium as The Mandalorian on Disney Plus on Wednesday nights,
Yeah.
or Wednesdays in general. Um,
Yep.
So the Foundling, we jump right back off where we left off from last week's episode with Bo and Jen Din going to the secret location. And as we find out, that is the not so secret location that he keeps returning to, and I'm surprised nobody's followed him to at this point.
Yeah.
Where the rest of the Mandalorians are, he brings her back there. And we pick right back off where everything was going on, and we get to see a little bit of the training that we with all the Mandalorians here.
Yeah.
Just before we even get even further than that, man, what did you think just seeing so many Mandalorians just kind of clustered? Because we haven't really seen that in a while. Like we haven't seen so many of them since so many of them died off and either hunted down, killed, or whatever.
Yeah.
And we've got the backstory on Mandalore, but what do you think about just seeing this shot of everybody just in not in cosplay, but in their different armors and different
Yeah.
houses?
Yeah. I mean, I think when you think about the show, I think this is one of the sort of scenes that you sort of predicted you would get at some point. What does a regular day to day look like
Right.
with everybody? The variations of the armors and the crescents and how do they obtain the skill and kind of hone their craft and seeing them very much do the training on just a regular day with no danger yet, soon to be looming, or something. And then obviously how the pact of being a Mandalorian, how does that apply to the day to day? And
Right.
there was a lot of different things kind of going on. So it was cool. And then obviously the biggest thing beyond that was like, well, Grogu wants to be a Mandalorian, so like when he gonna get some reps in, and
Right.
that's what we got in the beginning.
Not sure how that works. Pretty weird. Just kind of seeing this dude in like full body armor with the helmet. They had to get a little helmet to fit his head and everything like that. I was thinking about that as they were, if his goal is to become a Mandalorian and learn the creed, like how's it? So he's gonna be a Mandalorian with force powers, like he'll be a
Yeah, but
Mandalorian.
that's not unheard of folks like of different species being
Right.
Jedis and
Not
there's
not
the
just not different species, but just different. Outside of being a Jedi, you were allowed to have like a completely different thing. Like you're a force user.
well, it's for, I mean, and
But
well, again, there's as we know through Star Wars, there's force sensitive folks who aren't Jedi's. There's
right,
regular force sensitive civilians, but he just happens to be one that just is following the way. So it's a different story than what we're accustomed to. But can Jedi's, can people or species be force sensitive and be anything other than a Jedi? Absolutely, and obviously when you think about everything we learned in this episode, this is probably the safest way for him to be anyway. Because the moment you put a target on the back of your head and start training in the ways of Jedi, everyone's very much aware of, to come after you. So at
right.
least now this gives him a level of protection and covertness of everything. Because they haven't questioned yet about his force
No,
sensitivity. So, it's a good look for him to kind of hide under the radar.
yeah, like I said, it's holy amazing scene. I was just thinking, like, where are they sleeping at? Like, there's just a cave here. Like, where's everybody? Where's everybody at? It's questions like that going through my mind as I'm watching the episode. But in the short episode, by the way, it seems like you'll get one episode that's like an hour, then it'll be like, okay, here's a 32-minute episode, and
No,
but
no,
but it was
it's no
meaty,
different. Yeah,
right?
it's no different from any Disney Plus show. It's all they don't. There's no consistency on the run times.
As we get a little bit further in this episode, we see, like I said, them kind of just talking, and we see, like you said, them training, and we get a little bit more preview of like Grogu learning how to use the dart gun for the first time and everything like that. Surprised to even fit to his hand. But we even see, like you said, the foundlings the kids of the Mandalorians, because they got time to take their helmets off for that. Um, but they got the Mandalorians have kids, and we see them kind of going through the training thing, and they explain more of the lore of the Mandalorians and like what the rules are here throughout this episode and what they can do and what they can't do. Especially with Bo now kind of being reiterated back into the clan, the world. But we also get the scene where Grogu is getting his armor and everything made by the one armor, and really hope they have somebody else that can make armor, because if she goes, it's over. I was thinking about that. But we get a little preview of that, and as she's making the armor for him, we get a flashback into where Grogu is being rescued, which is like the episode, I guess, the moment a lot of people have been waiting for, because they've been wanting to finally get that back season after 2-3 seasons now.
Yeah, let's forget the theatrics here. Let's just get right into it. Everyone wants to know, where did Grogu come from? A lot of assumption that if he is force sensitive, then he must have been in the Jedi Temple, which obviously brings us to what happened after Order 66. Where was Grogu and how did he escape? And this episode is a flashback of seeing that he got the help of Jedis. None of any familiarity, although there's an actor that's a familiarity here. Huge Easter egg, shall I say. But the question is, like, who aided in Grogu's rescue? And what's cool about this is that everybody's story is different, as we've seen other
perspective on Order 66.
Right. I mean, obviously the most tragic day in the Jedi history. But like, even when we watch Obi-Wan, we got what's her name and her vantage point of what happened, Order 66, which I assume Grogu would have been in that mix, but no, but maybe, but they just didn't want to give it off right there. So this is a huge moment, obviously, with the flashback moment of seeing a Jedi was also something hinted at the trailer. I thought they were going to wait to the end of the season, but they show it now. The most important thing about all of this is beyond seeing lightsabers and beyond seeing Grogu's rescue is understanding the trauma that even sent him back to have this moment. Him seeing the metal, the iron hitting as they're crafting the Mandalorian steel to give him his crescent is causing him to have a flashback about the moment he was rescued. There's a couple of things to think about here. One, does he feel, and like as there was some things said, but does he feel that he escaped in a fashion that he needs to go back and make things right? Like, is there a wavering thought that he may needs to be a Jedi because he may need to right the things? And obviously, I'm not gonna say vengeance because that's not a good word in terms of Jedi. But redemption. Does he seek redemption for the folks that failed for his rescue attempt?
Right.
Or is this some type of a vision that he's having that is potentially force sensitive in terms of saying this is truly your way? While we see you physically going towards the way of the Mandalorian, could this vision be telling you that this is absolutely the destiny that you need to have here?
Right.
So it's interesting that he's having this moment as we've seen him have progress with the armorer in terms of becoming more Mandalorian. Say, here's your first piece for your armor, but he's having flashback about when he was rescued and sort of the sacrifices that other Jedi made. So does he have a level of like empathy for the folks that rescued him? And where does that lay? Where does that make his decision that he once made so certain about being a Mandalorian now waver his thoughts about potentially wanting to become a Jedi in order to make things right for the folks who got him out of there? And it's sort of a compelling story, but it keeps us on edge now in terms of like what's next for Grogu.
Right. Yeah, I don't know if you were thinking about this, but something that bothered me, it's not like a big deal, nothing like that, but I was just thinking to myself, like, these troopers, and it wasn't even that many. Like some of the first basic Jedi training is like blaster reflection, right? And for whatever reason, they was just getting ate up by like these 2-3 stormtroopers, but that all of a sudden know how to shoot. I don't know. It's just like the original clone trooper stormtroopers, like they just didn't miss. But Like, yeah, I just probably like that to see them kind of get washed out by. I mean, and the same thing happened in Revenge of the Sith. Like, we see them kind of get swarmed upon by by troopers, clone troopers at the time, and
Yeah,
you know,
ain't enough training in the world for that moment of. I mean, look, they're blindsided
right,
by a foe that they had not prepared for. You know, it's just as much as any Jedi turning on another Jedi. You can't
right.
prepare for that because that's the last thing you suspect here. You know.
It's funny you mentioned about Grogu making that choice between him with the Mandalorian, his mind going back to that point, because I really thought that we already resolved this, kind of like when he was training with Luke, and he made the choice to go with Din to with him, kind of forsake the training and say, hey, this is the path I want to go. I didn't think that we were going to be questioning this anymore in the series. But again, not realizing that we didn't really get the full backstory of like what happened, and like, that I guess that PTSD, like that moment for him, because everybody's shaking up about that, or the Order 66 moment, Anakin's betrayal. Nobody saw that coming, right? Like nobody
Right.
saw any of that. And it's so much of that choice has like lingering effects on so many different characters throughout the series,
Yeah.
throughout the universe.
Mm-hmm.
But we come in, we see the scene where Grogu's rescued, and we get this Jedi who comes in and saves the day. Which apparently it was the actor who played Jar Jar Banks, which is surprising. Get this man redeemed as a Jedi, even though
Yeah.
Jar Jar does play a big role in the Clone Wars series. People need to stop sleeping on Jar Jar when it comes to.
That's something I don't have time for, but yeah, the way they treat Jar Jar is one of the worst. And listen, here's a theory, and I'm not going to even act like this is my theory, because John Campion said this, and John Campion says that he feels that like Jar Jar is a part of the reason how Grogu was able to escape Order 66. And it's funny, he had this theory. You can, obviously it's on his Instagram. But it's funny he makes that thought, and then what do you see here? The actor who played Jar Jar is the one who actually did help him escape it. So
Right.
unless he just got an early screener, talk about being, I haven't even checked his Instagram today, but talking about being red hot on a theory here.
Right.
Like he still gets credit for that for sure. But yeah, I mean, the way how he put together about where Jar Jar was at doing Order 66 and whatnot, it kind of made sense. So I don't know.
Yeah, man. Like I said, we see this whole the whole scene. Like I said, it's so many different media so far has used like that Order 66 scene as a jumping point, where it comes from like the latest Star Wars game, where we see like so many of like the remaining Jedi and what happened to them. Not everybody got washed, but we see this guy come in, do the two sabers, because we never get to see that, and pretty much get out of that. And this whole scene was just pretty amazing, like the way they did the CGI and everything like that. If this is on the soundstage, my God, this is good.
I wonder could I play this clip without it like being like completely because I really want to give him credit for it. So I'm just gonna just say like because I got it on my phone here, but let me just see how long this clip is before I even do it, because like he brings up a really good point, and I figured actually I tell you what, y'all just go look at his Instagram, but it's on there, and he definitely brings up the idea, and this is from February 27th, that he brings up the idea that he thinks that Jar Jar was responsible for getting Baby Yoda out of Order 66. So I mean, again, being red hot on a theory right now, and to see the actor who played Jar Jar Binks be the one to save him is nuts. So yeah,
like I said, I mean, like, because this is the Mandalorian takes place after Return of the Jedi, right? And so this is the Obi-Wan. I'm trying to really like place the story of like where everything happened, because this is like 20 plus years after the fact. So I'm trying to see, because they really don't go into detail. They don't really want to touch that point of how many Jedi there actually are that are surviving out here in the world.
Yeah.
Obviously for good reasons, but
I mean, because it allows the scoping of storytelling.
Right.
The more stories you can tell, right. More video games, more everything,
Right. Before we close off that chapter, I mean, just this whole introduction, obviously, was amazing. What did you think about his appearance, and do you think we'll see more of him as the series goes on?
It was cool. The dual sabers. I mean, a Jedi and the Mandalorian is always cool.
Right.
Yes, I know we got Ahsoka, which is ultimately nothing's gonna be cooler than that. But again, just getting the background information about how Grogu was rescued, seeing the stormtroopers come in, just being haters the entire time, and seeing that like this Jedi also did have an alliance here. You know, he had folks that were able that was going to help, and there was more good. There was this equal amount of people good as there were bad in terms of what was happening here. And I just think again, it was just really cool to kind of see that, but also like Grogu having that moment of flash of recalling these moments is really important into who we will see Grogu to become. So
yeah, like I said, there's a 20-something year gap in between that moment and where Grogu is now. So that's a whole different story that we can get into later in the series or whenever they decide to pick that up. But right after that, we kick right back to where all the Mandalorians are. We're back on there, and after the whole training contest, we see the guy's son get snatched up by a giant bird dragon thing. And for whatever reason, they don't have enough backpack fuel to pursue this thing because it's not the first time this happens, as they say throughout the episode. Like, hey, he keeps getting us. And they try to chase him down. And of course, Bo comes in with the plan. Like, look, I got the ship. We can go get him. Without killing the boy. They're trying to figure out ways to rescue him without making too much noise. They're doing a sneak mission. This is the stealth part of Star Wars that we don't always get to see. Right. This is the ninja stuff. So yeah, they put the mission together. To go find them, and it's just to see like everybody just so unified. Nobody's like like that one hating Mandalorian that was back in that last episode. Everybody's kind of on the same page. The Foundling is the priority. The rescuer.
Yeah.
And they go after him. Which I think is one of the coolest scenes in the Mandalorian so far, where we see like a whole tag team Avengers Mandalorian action thing going on here. I'm pretty sure you as you're watching this, you're probably just like, oh my god, this is amazing. But what did you think about Bo's plan and just kind of her mindset and just kind of being like we said last week, being a part of this family and just kind of jumping in and taking charges? They give her the reins to the mission.
It's very much who Bo has been the entire time. Always has a plan. So being a part of something and have a significance in terms of this, it gives her purpose, and this is her bread and butter. So to what she did, no surprise, but it was cool to see their execution of this plan and all of them flying together and whatnot. It's cool. I mean, when I heard that we were getting a Mandalorian shot, this is what I thought we were going to get. Just a lot of the times I thought like, if you watch Clone Wars and Rebels and you think about the times on Mandalore, especially when we go back and you talk about the story arc of the Dark Saber and Darth Maul, and you seeing the abundance of Mandalorians here. It's like, oh, I can't wait to see that in live action here. And well, here we go. So it's pretty cool.
But like I said, this episode was chock full of knowledge about some of the backstop of the Mandalorians. Because we get the scene where they're all like, oh, they break off for dinner and everybody just like kind of goes off on their separate path. And Jen then explains like, look, and she's like, how do you eat? She's like, well, we all go sneak off in a corner somewhere and make sure nobody can't see us. And we go take our helmets off, eat our food. And she sits by the campfire and we get to see her take her helmet off once again to eat whatever the heck they were eating before the mission. But I just thought that was interesting because that was kind of one of the questions I think a lot of fans had is like, we never see them really eat anything. Like they put the sandwich, but now we know on the off-screen moments when you don't see them, they're taking their helmets off to get their rations in. But needless to say, they go rescue the boy. Like you said, the execution of that was necessary. But the next scene after that, where Bo and them comes back and the armorer is making her new armor, and she, they explain about the house and the crest and stuff like that, and then they get into the details about her wearing two crests, which I'm trying to think of what the thing was called. The one thing that every Mandalorian has on their armor, and then her house crest. So she's gonna be rocking the two of those. And I just thought that whole conversation was interesting, man, because like you could definitely tell that she is definitely. Now I want to say I can't tell if she's 100% back into the fold and like accepting this, because she's been away for so long. But when everybody hits "This is the way," it definitely sounds like they're in this. But what did you think about this whole that whole?
I think it's cool. The Night Owl and the Mythosaurus, like wearing both is they're turning the page into a lot of what I said, like and restoring her family's or her clan's name, but also going forward with the way. However, there's one issue that you just failed to bring up is that she says she's seen this thing in real life. And the armor is like, oh, that's cool. Completely gaslights her. Right. And I think it's problematic.
It's a story, right? It's it's.
So was the water at one point.
Yeah, you're right.
So they're gaslighting her. And so now she has doubts like, are you going to like consider anything I'm saying? Or you just like, no, because it ain't true. Or because you didn't see it and whatnot. So we have to see what type of conflict this creates with her. As she wants to be with the way, but what's a little adversity? What does that do for her here? And I think that's going to be a pivotal thing going forward with her being gaslit in terms of this right now.
She's like, you saw it, huh? Okay, that's cool. You sure you saw it? Okay. Like, nah, I saw it in real life. But it's funny because she asked Den the same question, and he was like, nah, I ain't see nothing. What are you talking about? So she kind of just put it away because she was like, okay, if he ain't see it, I must not have saw it either. But then she brought that up at that point. I thought that was just so maybe we'll get a little bit more of what that's all about later on. Like, does it make you the god of Mandalorians if you you beat one or something? Who knows? But
one does not speak unless they know.
Right. Lesson of the day. Every episode has a lesson. But that was pretty much like the episodes. We get through that, and we see everything closed out here. And we learn a little bit more about the Mandalores. Like I said, short episodes, only like 30 minutes this week, but they wrapped it up really nicely. We got some Jedis, we got some nice Mandalorian action, and we got some more lore that we got to learn about this entire universe. Like I said, they have a way of really honing it in. As big as the Star Wars universe is, this show has a really good way of like honing it down and grounding it for you. Like I said, boost to the ground and really focusing on these characters, and they do a really good job of it. Any other thoughts on this episode you want to bring up?
I mean, it's a cool episode. Again, getting able to see the rescue of Grogu out of the Jedi Temple, getting to see another Jedi in the Mandalorian series,
right? And Black Jedi.
Yeah, that too, and then the redemption of Jar Jar Binks, whether whatever side you were on that. It was just a cool episode. So, we'll just kind of see what they do next week. This was a fun episode.
I'm excited. I'm also glad they don't do previews for the next episode because that would just upset me if I knew what was coming. But
yeah,
look, like I said, great episode. Wrapping this up, we'll see you guys for episode 5. Hopefully, we get some good content. And let us know what you think about this episode in the comments below. Share it with your friends. Terrell and Najee back in for episode 4, The Foundling, and we'll see you for episode 5. See you.
Peace out.